Hello there and welcome to Democracy in Action. We are again converging on Third Eye Africa TV. We are the Central Business District in Abuja and we want to discuss democracy in action. There's no democracy without political parties. They are the very ingredients of democracy. Every political party, therefore, is expected to have what they call internal democracy, so that the country too will have democracy. How is it like with the People's Democratic Party? For 16 years, that party ruled Nigeria. It brought out the country from military rule. What is the situation today? We'll discuss quite a lot of things, as even we're hearing that Governor of Oyo State, Seyi Makinde, has just held a meeting with the President of Nigeria, Bola Ahmed Tinubu. We're also hearing that the court has decided to throw away Samuel Anyang's case. He is seeking to re-enter PDP and take over as National Secretary. The court is saying there is time lapse. What is there for PDP? Is the party in factions, some wicked faction, or we have the Kabiru group that is the authentic. We have to know that today, and I have with me the spokesman for the People's Democratic Party, Comrade Ini Ememobong. I want to welcome you to Third Eye Africa TV.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
My name is Ben Shaman, your regular host of this program. As we kick off, what's the status of PDP today?
Well, I should be asking you because you have a third eye. Yeah, because we are here at Third Eye Africa.
We are hiding the third eye so that we see what you are doing.
So the third eye should tell us.
Yeah.
But I mean, in fact, everyone knows that the PDP is solid, strong. It's going through a rebirth process. We cannot deny the fact that we had challenges. Those challenges are being resolved, and the party is now repositioning to do what a political party should do. An opposition political party, which is to provide alternative ideas to what government is doing and to hold government to account, to become the conscience of the society and to hold government to account. So the challenges of the past clearly were challenges that were brought upon us by imposition, by impunity, by disregarding the voices of the people. And that is why the Turaki-led administration is saying no, would ensure that we exercise those vices, would go back to how the party was formed and how the party grew over time. The party was formed on the basis of people voluntarily becoming members, voluntarily contributing to party finances, voluntarily doing things for the party. You know that in most states where we have the party secretariat, there are places people donated their lands voluntarily, donated money, and so that the secretariat was made. So the challenges of the past have become the building blocks for the party as we set out for the future. So we do not deny the challenges of the past, but we are more focused on the prospects of the future. Where we are now is where we have two judgments of courts from the Federal High Court, which are before the Court of Appeal, and those judgments have been appealed, stay of execution are filed, and we're hoping that we'll have a hearing. The matters are ripe for hearing, and we're hoping that we'll have a hearing date soon so that the courts of appeal can decide. But we find a lot of respite in the judgment just issued recently, where my lord stated that political party affairs are internal affairs and therefore should not be within the jurisdiction of courts. And that's the argument we've been canvassing since. We have been opposing the judicialization of politics and the politicization of the judiciary, because immediately, like Justice Nikitobi said, immediately the waters of politics and law and judiciary begin to mix, then the society and democracy would suffer for it.
Now, you've spoken eloquently concerning the founding fathers and the way PDP was formed. But it looks like many of those founding fathers and key officers of the party are no longer with the Kabiru Turaki team. So how do you intend to manage all of that?
No, when you go back to the G13, even before you expand to the G34 and the rest, you see that the key founding fathers are still there. The Jerry Ganas, the Jonah Janks, they're still there, still solid with us. And they are the people who are giving it backing. Now, beyond that, every other organ of the party, whether it's the NEC, whether it's ex officio, whether it is the Governors Forum, whether it is the Former Ministers Forum, whether it is the PDP caucus in both houses of the National Assembly, in fact, whether it is the staff of the party, all of them are loyal and responding to the Turaki administration. And so it's just like you go into a house where there is a woman and two men are dragging. Then the children begin to call one of the men who are dragging, daddy, daddy, daddy. It settles the matter. So even the staff of the party are there. So the party is running, in fact, as we speak, in fact, the party is running seamlessly. But it is the question of law that we are trying to answer. If it is the question of fact, the question of reality, the question of the day-to-day running of the party, who is in charge, who are the state chairmen reporting to, then that has been answered. Turaki is firmly in charge. But a question of law, because we're a party of law. We live in a country of laws, so the rule of law must persist. So that is why we're trying to answer the question of law, which we are hoping that the judgment of the Court of Appeal will answer the question of law in a way that aligns with reality. Because you see, if a judgment makes a man a woman, then it is a judgment. It is legal, but it is immoral. And in fact, it will be difficult to enforce the judgment that makes a man a woman without any further procedure, because that man still remains a man, though the law recognizes that man as a woman. So the nearness of judgments to reality is the test of whether, because the two parties who go to court know what the truth is the judge that is on trial. So it is whether the judge passes the trial by giving judgments that are very close to reality.
Now, we're talking of a situation too where there was a convention in Ibadan, and a key ingredient is that, or a fact and issue is that INEC ought to observe or be present at the convention, but it's now been known that it's a public knowledge that INEC wasn't there. Isn't that an illegality on the side of the Shei faction?
No. First is the fact that the law recognizes that you can invite INEC. INEC may choose to come or not to come. They may choose to. And you've seen several. In the SDP case, INEC took a position. The fact that INEC as a regulator takes a position doesn't make it final. So INEC took a position where they said, oh, we have court orders telling us not to come. That's fine. But we made sure that it was on TV so they could have monitored it from the office. And in this digital world now, coming and attendance and monitoring may need not be physical. It may be through, I mean, people are having virtual court hearings these days. During COVID, people had virtual court hearings. So INEC could monitor virtually. And if they need any report of anything, I'm sure they can have it. So we did the issue of the facts in issue, like you've said, when it gets to INEC, is did we give notice? We gave notice, and that's where our duty stops. So it is the duty of INEC to explain, if there is any reason for that tomorrow, why they did not attend.
Well, waiting for the courts or the judges to take care of all complaints. Now, behind the scene, what are you doing to reconcile with very many people who feel aggrieved? For example, you have the Wike group, where Mr. Anyao belongs to. So to what extent? Because at the point that faction said, okay, they had expelled the Kabiru Turaki group, the Kabiru Turaki said they are the authentic and therefore have also expelled the Wike group. So what is happening behind the scene? Give us the news behind the news.
Well, the truth is that it wasn't Turaki SN who expelled anybody. Convention did. In fact, as at the time convention expelled them, Turaki's election was not up. My election was not up. So it was convention, a properly constituted convention that expelled them. And are we leaving room for reconciliation? Absolutely. The Turaki SN himself has said that reconciliation is on the table. But we must reconcile along the lines of the objectives of the party. So if 2 or 3 of us, like I came in with Tom, and 3 of us begin to fight, and people want to separate us, and they say, what's the fight about? and I'm saying that this studio cannot take place here, and the owner of the studio, the station, comes, how do you think that reconciliation will happen? Because every reconciliation must be to the fact that Third Eye Africa must run, because it was established here to run. So if I now say that the only condition for peace is that you don't run your TV service, that you leave this room, go and look for another place and do your TV service, and your listeners, your watchers are watching, they are getting ready to watch, how do you reconcile that? You send me out of the room, and you continue the reason why this station was made, why you came here, why all of these props are around. You don't begin to dismantle. I mean, peace is costly. You don't begin to dismantle. You simply call the police, or you ignite the laws that allow that. You send me out of the way and you continue your broadcast. So if I want to reconcile with you, I must reconcile along the fact that Third Eye Africa must run what? Broadcast. A political party is formed for the primary purpose of mobilizing people, presenting candidates and mobilizing people to vote for them. Is it not so? And the whole essence of a political party is to win elections. And so anyone who does anything to the extent of saying or thinking or believing or trying to push the belief that PDP should not have candidates or even a candidate anywhere, then, I mean, the reconciliation cannot be on those terms. The reconciliation within the platform of PDP must be reconciliation that helps the party to achieve the reason why it was started. And so that is it. So we are ready, willing, available to reconcile with people on the basis of this principle. And that's where we stand.
Even as you stand that way, today your national secretariat is under lock and key. You could see barbed wires all over the place. You could also see armed men, security personnel guarding the place. So how do you dismantle that to ensure that you occupy your rightful place?
Well, first, that occupation is illegal because there is no court order to that effect, and it's still part of the persecution that the opposition is suffering at the moment. But we're taking practical steps to ensure that that becomes history and that's put behind us. But the truth is, the political party, like the church or like any religion, is not just the building. It is more about the people. So if you lock the building and keep the building, you can't lock the people and keep the people. PDP is growing everywhere. In Plateau, PDP is bubbling as we speak. In Akwa Ibom, in Delta, in the places where even governors have left, you see that the party is still bubbling. And so it is not in locking the party that will prevent the People's Democratic Party. While that is our secretariat, the other secretariat is in the hearts of people. And the conglomeration of those people at any time will always be the party.
Now, there's this cartoon I saw, two trees. Wike is hanging at the center. He's holding PDP by the right, holding APC by the left, and he's hanging this way. The question is, where does Wike belong? Is he with the PDP?
No, I think that answer would rightly be given by him. But like you know that a valid convention had expelled him. So from the PDP, we do not know him as our member. At best, we know him as a friend and a former member.
That's so. But before now, you could see that Chris Anyao was always with him. Samuel Anyao, rather, was always with him. Now, this judgment saying that his own case is time barred, you left to go contest for election. You didn't win, you came back again. You want to take over your position. And the court is saying, look, this thing is time barred. Even his lawyers withdrew the case. So, is there any good omen for the Kabiru Toraki PDP?
Absolutely. There is, because the reliefs he sought for, if they had been granted, would have been helpful to him. But like I said, the fluxion of time made it impossible for... In fact, that case was even an abuse of court because the Supreme Court had already ruled on that matter, had already given judgment on that matter. And so there was no reason why he should have still gone there. But trust politicians as they would. But, I mean, which is why we need to learn to settle our problems ourselves. And people should respect the fact that democracy is a game of numbers. Immediately, the people on this side are on number. You need to give up and know that if you still want to belong to the party, because it's a game of numbers.
Former governor of Ekiti State, Ayo Fayoshe, at the point was telling the world or whoever wanted to listen or view him, he said, look, the governor of Oyo State, Sheyi Makinde, once said, he is a Yoruba person, I will not betray President Tinubu. He will support President Tinubu in the next elections. Now, as we are talking to you, the same governor has met with the governor. Do you smell a rat or do you trust the movement?
I clearly do not align with the sectionalization or regionalization of politics. It is the same thing that led to the collapse of the First and Second Republic. And with due respect to Governor Ayofashe, he should know more because he started in the Western region. You see, we must move beyond where we come from to what ideologies are on the table, to what political parties can offer. Until we move beyond that, then we're not going to do anything serious. So we mustn't be interested first whether, the person is Yoruba, the person is Igbo, the person is Ibibio. It doesn't really make sense. We must dissolve that into the national identity. We will begin to discuss issues without necessarily referring to regionalization. Sheyi Makinde is a governor of Oyo State. He's a part of Nigeria. And in this country, governors meet with presidents for several reasons. So Sheyi has the right to meet with the president at any time he wants to. But he's a person whose character we can at least vouch for. And I can assure you that the remaining governors in the PDP have also assured us, and we believe them, that they are going nowhere. So they can meet with the president as many times as they want to. I mean, it's necessary for democracy to run. The kind of federation we run a unitary system, we don't run a federation. So every month, governors must get to Abuja. They must find a way. So if you don't meet the president, if a governor doesn't meet the president, at least once in 2 months, the governor feels left behind. So if he meets the president, it's fine, but there's no need to fear.
So let's situate it or put it in a context where governors, sitting governors, are just simply joining the ruling party, APC. And within the gale of these movements, I mean, does this meeting, yes, it has a right, like you said, to meet with the president. But don't you think one of these could be an intention to move?
Well, we don't impute intentions to people, and like Shakespeare said, there's no art or science that can read the mind's construction on the face. And so, governance is still ongoing. Oyo State is a part of Nigeria. Recently, they had security challenges, which is becoming the lived reality of Nigerians. So he may be briefing the president on that. It mustn't necessarily be. Sheyi Makinde, in the little I've known him, is a person of deep integrity. He may be quiet, he's not talkative, he's not loud, but he's firm. I can tell you that. It's just like Governor Bala Mohammed. Firm person, absolutely firm. You can count on those people. Zamfara, Fintri, firm people. I mean, and they've given the assurances that willy-nilly they're with us.
Some people tend to say, oh, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission tend to focus more on those not on their side. More so when Oshimole, former governor, Labour leader, senator, said, look, if you cross over to APC, your sins are forgiven. So do you think that EFCC is being used as a hunter's dog in this case?
Well, that's a question that if you were to take a poll from Nigerians, you would have an answer. It would be a loud yes. And that's the perception that is there. Whether that follows reality is what I saw the EFCC chairman trying to reel out. But you see, if the owl cries at night and the child dies in the morning, there's a connection between the owl's cry and the child's death. So clearly, if you look at how the Kogi matter was handled, even the gentleman gave them a lot of stress. But after the arraignment, you saw that you seldom hear anything about it. If you see how Okowa's case was handled, immediately he crossed. He had respite. And if you compare that with how Malami is being treated, you compare. Malami went there himself. They invited him. He went there. But the White Lion, Yaya Bello, didn't go there himself. He evaded arrest. He did a lot of things. He challenged them. He finally went there. But so if you compare, if you also see the way they are hounding Bala Mohammed's people in Bauchi, if you compare and contrast with the things they are doing. So, for example, Beta Edu, in the wee stages, very early stages of this administration, he's said to have dealt seriously and inappropriately with public funds being found in private accounts. We've not heard anything about it again. We've not. The gentleman whose NYC was it NYC or degree was forged and he simply resigned. We've not heard anything about it. But I'm sure if these opposition figures, you would see they will be hounding them left, right, and center. And so when you look at it, okay, look at even the trial of Showore, the way they are handling it, you just see that this is beyond prosecution, persecution. There's so much anger, there's so much energy that wants to nip Showore in the bud. They want to suffocate him from trial to trial. I mean, so clearly, if you were to ask bystanders, ordinary Nigerians who are apolitical, the answer will be that EFCC is perceived as being an attack dog of government. But to be fair to them, it's not the first time it is happening. Almost every administration has been deploying that.
Exactly, because
so almost every administration has been deploying that. But now the difference is, we were there yesterday so that we shouldn't be there today. So it's a progression. The idea that we've been practicing democracy for this number of years is an invitation to democratic consolidation, where the things we did 10 years ago, we should not be doing them again. Well, it's just like spiritual growth. When you become a Christian newly, or I suppose so for a Muslim too, the activities that you struggle with at the beginning. But by the time you're 3 years in faith, 4 years in faith, 10 years in faith, those things that you were struggling with before become normative to you. Just do them. It's just like there are people who cannot fast because they just joined the religion. But after a while, you see that even without the normal fast, they declare fast for themselves because they now know the spiritual usefulness of fasting. So that we did that yesterday, that those things happened in the past, is not a license for the continuity, because we are meant to be transitioning from where we were to where we are supposed to be.
I actually asked that question, having read the autobiography of Nuhu Rubadu. When he wanted to be president of Nigeria, he chronicled his own life. And I think around page 131 or 151, he said when he was chairman of EFCC, a burden he had was how EFCC was tackling those in opposition. He was not too okay with that. Here you are today, you're saying the tide has changed. What happened yesterday shouldn't happen today. So why are we not learning?
No, that's a question for those in power to say. Because if they were in the opposition and they felt the hit and they knew it was wrong, being in government now, they should be doing the things they were advising the government then to do. But incidentally, that's not what they are doing. They are turning logic on its head. They are doing the exact opposite. And so we in the opposition, which is why we're not doing opposition the way they were doing. You remember how they did the opposition? We're not being rascally about the opposition. We're not being inconsiderate about the opposition. We're simply drawing the attention to things. So, for example, you really like security. See how they denied the Kaduna incidents. Completely shameful, absolutely shameful and inexcusable. I mean, something happened and the villagers said they had reached out to the police and to the chairman and they came out to cover. I don't know how and when the police became the image launderer of government. They should stick to their duty, which is the protection of lives and property. That's what they should do. So the police should not, a police officer of the level of a commissioner should not have emphatically said that there was no such thing. So it now calls to question the capacity of the police to protect the people. Because if a police officer was denying the existence and occurrence of a kidnap that took over 100 people, then it means that that police commissioner knows nothing that is happening anywhere in Kaduna.
Well, still, before we reach security, let's still discuss PDP. Surely, I know we'll have to do an X-ray of the government in power today, because they came to power believing that PDP, after all, wasn't performing very well, wasn't giving Nigerians the dividends of democracy needed. So, still talking PDP this time around. Do you have some fears when people say, look, if PDP remains stubbornly strong, things will be done in such a way that they will not have gubernatorial candidates, presidential candidates in all the elections. Ballot paper will come, no logo for PDP. You have some fears because time is running out. More so, there are court cases that PDP is handling.
I don't have fears for the PDP, but I have fears for the decline in democracy. And we're talking today at the Daily Trust event and talking about the fact that the sequence of uninterrupted elections, does not equate with democratic consolidation. And so I have fears for democracy, survival of democracy. I have fears that our elections would soon become ordinary events will become events without being eventful. And you know that the key element of every election is institutionalized uncertainty, where even on the morning of the elections, the people who are contesting are still not sure whether they would win. That's the key element. The moment you remove institutionalized uncertainty from election, it becomes an event without being eventful. So I fear for that. I fear for the fact that we are being railroaded almost into a one-party state, with government actively exacerbating it but denying it. So they are acting on it in one hand and they are denying it on the other hand. So, but Nigerian democracy has survived the military, and so I'm sure it will survive the civilians.
So why do you think governors are leaving, even PDP and other political parties?
They've said
to
why
go to
they've
APC?
said why they are leaving. Some said the president invited them. The others said that they are leaving so that they can connect their states to the center and they can benefit from the things that are happening. And so that tells you that the system is not running in an egalitarian way, because if by being in the opposition, my state and my people lack something, it means that there are things that are divided and shared along political lines. Isn't it so? So that is clearly why. And so it raises the fault line, it highlights the fault line in the system, that this system is not egalitarian, it is nepotistic, it is egoistic, it is very pedestrian in disposition. And so clearly they've said so. There are rumors that people are bought with money and all of that. It is not impossible. But for us, the ones I've heard from their mouth, some people say, oh no, we want to go so that we can link our people to the center. We want to go so that we can have a second term. I mean, all those are very, very off the desk kind of discussions. So if they are telling you that, you can only imagine what they are not telling you.
So you are in support of the calls that, look, once you are elected and you want to jump overboard, go to another party, cross carpet, you should therefore resign completely, go contest.
I agree with that, because it wasn't your face that was on the ballot paper. It was the party. And it's a social contract between you, the party, and the people. And the party is simply a shorty. When the party gives you a ticket, they are simply shorting to the people that this person we have brought will do well. And the party plays a central role. You don't submit your name to INEC. The party does. And so if you want to move with the mandate, it is the members of the party people select you as candidate. The party runs your campaign for you. The party submits your name to INEC. Therefore, there is absolutely no reason you should joke with that without leaving the... I mean, it's an issue of morality. So drop the office, go and contest again on your new platform, see whether you would win, so that you can be satisfied, so that you know that the people are following you, they're not following the party. There are people who have won elections because Akwa Ibom was PDP, Akwa Ibom is a PDP state, Delta is a PDP state, this is a PDP state. There are people who have also lost because those states have not been dominated by those parties. So you now need to check, before you leave, you need to check whether you own the votes or the party owns it. But at this point, what we know is the political party.
Yes, we'll just go on a short break, come back and conclude. But before we go for that break, just a very short one. Why is PDP not a claimant in court over these people jumping out?
No, there are several cases in court about that. And you also know that at some point you pick your battles. Because yes, you go through the processes in the Federal High Court, you finish, they'll go to Court of Appeal. Sometimes before you finish, they would have finished the tenure and it will be in another person's tenure. And when they say, oh, pay back the money, the IDF primarily is not even paying back the money, it's preventing them so that INEC could declare those seats vacant and so that the communities can have representation.
Thank you for this very first part. I've been talking with Comrade Ini Ememobong. He's the spokesman for the People's Democratic Party. Thank you for being with us here.
Thank you very much.
My name is Ben Shaman. We are on to Third Eye Africa TV, and the program is Democracy in Action. Let's take this short break.
We're talking about South and the North. You talk about middle belt. Currently in Nigeria, we don't have middle belt. North Central is what we have.
Okay.
And they are included in the North. If the perception is because Nigeria is standing on a tripod, you have Igbo, Hausa, Yoruba, they are the owners of Nigeria. That is a very wrong perception. These are major tribes in Nigeria. Simple.
Yeah.
Nigeria is owned by every single citizen of this country.
If you go to civilized nations, they possibly have, stratified their political parties such that those who play at the national level are there. And at the local level, you have other minor political parties playing there. And it gives sense of belonging to every citizen to be able to contest.
And in fact, once you have joined APC, all your sins are forgiven.
It's okay. It's okay. Off your mic. It's okay.
This is Third Eye Africa TV, exposing crime, savaging the nation.
Welcome back. Now, Nigerians have been celebrating close to 27 years, 26 years of democracy, uninterrupted. They said the military finally is in the barracks, protecting the territorial integrity of this country. And let's look at it this way. Since democracy came, this time around, I'm not talking of party politics. What have been the gains of democracy since 1999, in your own view?
The gains of democracy primarily is the fact that you have democratic rule. The leadership space has been expanded, and so you have councillors. Those councillors have PAs. You have local government chairmen, vice. You have supervisors. So the political space has been broadened, and more people have come into leadership, and that has now enlarged the general leadership development spaces. How that impacts on the people who have led and on the people they have led is a different story. But you have more people participating. So away from the fact that you used to have a military governor and commissioners, you have a House of Assembly. So the liberalization of the space for leadership engagement is there. But you also do know that in terms of curiosity, more people, because now, there was a time that even as an elite, you would not have had any person in government because there were some who were just 10 commissioners. So you could still be an elite, but not know anybody in government, not know the governor, not know the commissioners, and fine. But now there's hardly anyone, including you, including me, who cannot say, oh, I know one councillor, I know 3 councillors, I know a local government chairman. So what that does, it now raises our disposition towards what are they doing? Because if we know them, we'll begin to ask, look, since you got in there, we've not seen anything you're doing. So it's raised consciousness. It has raised political participation. It has also given the political parties an opportunity to, especially now that you had the PDP rule for 16 years and now the APC is there. So it showed politicians the nature, that the people should be central. And so if they take a decision about a matter, you should listen to them.
Now, let's now do some comparative analysis. PDP was on ground 16 years. Now we have APC also running to some
11 years.
11 years now. So let's do a comparative analysis. What was it that PDP had to give Nigerians as dividends of democracy?
Well, the things are there. The institutions you have today. Suomoto, without being pushed, we brought every institution that is checking corruption today. Without any push, we brought GSM that has revolutionized. We deregulated the space for communication. We deregulated spaces for tertiary education. So when you look at it, we were able to stabilize. If we came with this kind of rhetoric we are seeing today, this democracy probably would not have survived as long as it did. So we came with the capacity to unify the country, because truly at the beginning, you recall, that PDP ensured that the issue of unity, that everyone was on the table, was critical. They made sure, because most of the players here were there in the Second Republic, and they saw that it was ethnicity, the ethnicization of politics and regionalization of politics that led to the collapse of the Second Republic. So they made sure that in their formation, PDP was a national party, and it is the only surviving original party till date.
Now, you and I attended, Delhi Trust annual forum or dialogue, and you could see those in government today, Sunday Dari, special advisor to the president on communication, said, yeah, talking about APC, said, yeah, they brought the railway system back to life. They remodeled airports in Nigeria, and of course, GDP is increasing. You were there. I saw your face. So what was in your face that time?
Then I said what was on my mind, if you recall. I mean, when they talk about, when he said the railway, that was in response to my question. But at what point did they meet the railways? At what point they came and commissioned Nnamdi Azikiwe Airport, the new wing? At what point did they meet it? Those are things Jonathan had already done, and they were just awaiting commissioning. I mean, the fact speaks for itself. Okay, since they did that, have they done any other thing? Apart from resurfacing the runway of Abuja Airport, if you recall, there was a time they made everyone to land in Kaduna because of that. So, I mean, when you talk about GDP, my challenge is when you quote the figures, that sounds good for economics, it sounds good for research. But when we look at the everyday, when you get to Wuse market, when you get to Garki market, when you get to villages in Tudunwada, when you get to villages in Ibionibo, how does that show on the faces of people? How does it ameliorate their suffering? Because don't forget that less than 1% of Nigerians can be making sufficient wealth, and when you put that into a matrix, it will kick the general matrix. So, but how does it affect someone in your village? How does the person who is in Benue and who is in Plateau, who have seen that their produce, their farm produce that they used to bring out, they no longer get value for what they do? I mean, you have more money. Today we hear that they have more money, but you are talking about quantitative money, you're not talking about qualitative money. So the question for us is that what the money could do what 1 million could do in 2015, how much do you need today? I remember then that Prado used to be, I think, 22 million. That's the highest level of Prado. No, that was a Land Cruiser, while Prado was, I think, between 16 to 17 million. But how much is it today?
That's elitist thinking.
No, but how much? Those are the things. Okay, so how much was a bag of rice in 2015? How much is a bag of rice today? How much was onion? Remember that onion has even become an issue of national debate. Do you understand? How much was onion then? How much is onions today? And so when you compare and contrast that with the amount of money civil servants are earning, when you look at the average earning of a Nigerian, you begin to see that quantitative money doesn't matter. When inflation would have dealt with it, when the impacts from the exchange rates, because we're seldom producing anything in this country, when all of those are calculated and it deals with the money people are earning, you discover that it's just quantitative money may end up like paper.
Now, before we went on break, you touched a bit on security. And today we are saying that many people campaigning about security or insecurity in Nigeria, about Nigeria generally, it's like they are skipping electricity, skipping security. Provision of security. It's like it has solution. Electricity, security. Are they different solutions?
No, I'm not sure they're defying solutions. It's just that maybe people are tired about talking about it. Insecurity has become our new normal. So everyone walks looking above or behind their backs. And so to that extent, you find that people may just be tired, about talking about it. But these are critical issues. Security of lives and property is a critical issue that must be attended to. Power has been one of the issues that really needs to be attended to in such a way that, because your running cost here, I can imagine, is significantly impacted by power. So if you use public power supply, it would always be cheaper than providing your alternative. And so when we've gotten to a point where Nigerians are providing alternative power, alternative security, alternative water, alternative education for their people, then that becomes a problem. We're losing the country.
So, security, are we getting it right? Today we're saying Donald Trump with threats, yet Donald Trump is sending people to assist.
Well, the details of that is really shrouded in secrecy. But I do know that security is everybody's business. It must take a whole of society approach to it. And that is why when we speak about security, we also offer help to the president, say in case he needs help, that we are willing and ready to advise. Because the villagers are saying, look, it's better to make peace with bandits and negotiate with them. Because when this army or police people storm their community, kill some bandits, the bandits run away, they would leave eventually. The police don't live with them. They are federal forces, which is why people are asking and demanding for state police. So when the bandits leave, when the police and security or army leaves, the people are now stuck with the bandits. And so they prefer to make peace with the bandits negotiate. And it's a shameful thing, because the truth is that action shows the lack of trust in the capacity of the state security apparatus.
But one would have thought that since against terrorism sits on the table of the NSA, that negotiations would have been done by state governors or governments in conjunction with the federal government. But we are seeing some, even local governments, some communities just simply trying to say, look, just come, let's...
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, because the people don't believe in the federal government. They believe the federal government is playing games. Okay, look at Kaduna. If you were from the local government where it happened, if another attack happens, if the bandits now send a letter to say, can we discuss? Wouldn't you rather discuss with them than trust that a commissioner of police will come out and deny what happened? It's the normalization of insecurity. We now see insecurity as normal. We see as night follows day. Well, if a day passes and insecurity doesn't happen, then we begin to thank God.
So, 2027, are there bombs? Are there roadblocks? Are there unforeseen things you tend to fear between now and 2027 in Nigeria?
Well, road bombs are made to reduce speed. But you know that there are people who are stubborn. They still ram through the roadblocks and the bombs. And I trust that with the rebirth and rebound processes that we're making, that very soon you're going to see the party in its full glory. You're going to see a lot of people returning to the party. You're going to see a lot of people who were just neither here nor there, come back to the fold.
Well, it is here that we have to end this program, Democracy in Action, where we have done an X-ray, a journey into the inner workings of the People's Democratic Party, and the spokesman for the party, talking of Comrade Ini Ememobong, who has been with us here. We want to thank you for coming to Third Eye Africa
Thank you very
TV.
much. Thank you very much.
And like we usually say, proudly Nigerian, proudly Nigeria.
Thank you. Proudly Nigerian.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Bless you.